your project?
All right, so my project, which is ultimately actually going to be my doctoral project, to really kind of combines the thought process behind what the cognitive and neurological effects of both war, deployment are on veterans and their families. And I mean, it becomes a lot more involved than that, but I really want to explore how war and returning from war has kind of affected the behavior at home. And to expand upon that, I'm really wanting to look at reintegration and what reintegration will look like to be able to put someone back into society, quote unquote, properly. And I mean, who defines properly is kind of something to be said, but trying to look and see what kind of psychological support is needed, if any. And so what are the things, I think the biggest part is what are the barriers, what are the biggest barriers to being able to reintegrate into society, is really kind of where the research is going to start and maybe stem from. I'm sure it will take me somewhere.
Okay. Do you think that your project is worth researching?
I absolutely do, and this is the portion that concerns me, because sometimes it might be a little bit too close to home. I have several family members that are veterans. I myself am a veteran. My best friend is a veteran. Her husband is currently active duty. So these things are actually very, very clear and very upfront in my mind. The whole issue of integration or reintegration being not done properly. So we have a whole bunch of veterans who are coming back from either deployments or war zones and not being able to handle things cognitively, and suicides are happening, or jobs aren't, they can't really find jobs properly, and it just leads to depression. So in my perception, it's absolutely worth doing, because if we can try to address the problems before they happen, then we're saving society, and as a result, the military, the VA, the civilian world, tax dollars, a whole bunch of money.
Okay. Going along that question line, how do you think that you're going to avoid identifying too personally with the participants?
So that one's a tough question. I don't know that I'm going to be able to, and I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. I think that I'm going to have to be highly aware of my biases, and I'm going to need to check them every single day, at every single moment, with every single line of questioning. And how exactly I'm going to avoid doing that is still in the air. I haven't quite figured that out yet, but the passion, the stuff that comes out of me in terms of wanting to actually research this, I think is going to be bigger than the biases in the long run.
Okay, so it sounds like your own personal values fit into that really well then.
Yes.
Great. So while carrying out this study, do you feel as though that your expertise will allow you to do this flawlessly, or do you feel as though you might need to reach out for help or assistance from anybody?
So I actually think that not only will I need to, but I should reach out for help and assistance, just because, though, the sheer problem of the sheer volume of my emotional connection to this is going to necessitate for me to actually pull outside resources, and to, one, keep me on the right path, but two, to be able to kind of help me provide a very clear focus of what it is that I'm looking for. I have a very big bias against PTSD, because I think it's like a mass diagnosis at this point, and that in itself is not something that I think I need to be hyper aware of the fact that I am biased against PTSD. So
understandable. Based on that and having that bias, but having your values, what are some potential risks that you could see for the participants? if any?
Can you just say that question one more time?
Yep. So it sounds like you have a lot of personal values, strong conviction on wanting to do this, and it sounds like your own personal bias might kind of roll into this a little bit. Mm-hmm. So what kind of potential risks do you maybe foresee happening, or maybe even not happening for the participants? So like they could, but not quite.
So I think the risks are the same for the participants as they are coming back from a deployment or a war zone. How I protect them and whether or not I recommend either follow-up services or I'm able to provide them with follow-up services if we find that that's actually a necessity is going to be something that I'm going to have to address before the line of questioning even starts. Because sometimes a line of questioning is actually what starts the whole process up. Right, like, hey, I never knew it was a problem until you asked me about it. So that kind of stuff is something that I'm going to have to address and figure out how I'm going to address that at the very beginning. So obviously the potential risk is uncovering something that they might not have known was an issue. And yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned protecting the participants. When it comes to kind of protecting them in whatever way that you feel that you need to, are you going to reveal the full information about the study and what it involves, or will you only give like certain details about it?
I think that ethically I would have to actually reveal all of the details of the study to try to figure out what it is. One, to make sure that they are 100% willing to participate in it. But two, if I don't address that there may be potential risks to how they're feeling or the things that we uncover, then ethically I'm doing the wrong thing as a researcher. And I feel like this is very sticky ground sometimes because a lot of it deals with neurological and psychological issues that can be at the forefront, especially with our veterans and their families who are already, I think, and this might be my personal bias shining through, but are already on towing the line in terms of the psychological issues that I don't even know how to explain it, like what the things that come up after deployments. A veteran is typically of the mindset that they don't need help. So bringing that to the forefront can be a big problem. Excuse me.
Okay. Okay. So based on that information, it sounds like there's going to be some benefits to the participants. Can you name like maybe one or two benefits that you're hoping to get out of the research?
Ultimately, I'm hoping that the benefit for the participant is that we begin to either figure out issues that might potentially arise or address them if they have arisen. But more than that, the benefits are going to be to future people who won't probably even participate in the study. The intent at the end of the day is to find a way to preempt some of the things that might happen and to help things happen before they happen.
Okay. I lost my train of thought. Hang on. Oh, with the benefits comes possible negative side effects. What are you going to, do you feel as though you might find out that somebody was wronged, or what would you do to speak up for this person if they feel as though they were negatively affected by it?
By the participation in the study?
Yeah.
Whew. This is a difficult one, and I don't know actually how I would address it. Honestly, I think I would need guidance. I would need guidance. So that's a question that I actually haven't thought about yet, obviously.
Okay. Awesome. Who would have access or own access to the data, and how will you make sure that that person has whatever access they require of it?
So for right now, I guess it depends on who does on whether or not I'm going to be funded, or I'm going to be doing this on my own, or whether I'm going to be doing this with the VA. All of those things haven't been ironed out yet. I would probably need to have access to veterans, which is going to either require either the VA or, you know, some other thing. So it just, I guess it just really depends on where the study ends up happening, to whether who's going to own the data. Obviously, I will be the one conducting the research, so the rest is still up in the air.
Okay, right. And then also for a final follow-up question, will the participants be involved in any type of review? Are they going to be privy to the information as the study goes on and at the end of the study? How do you think that that's going to fold out?
Honestly, and I've been thinking about this particular question a lot. I think that in order to be the most helpful, I would need to give the participants access to the data that is coming up, and give them the opportunity to remove an answer if they feel like it makes them too uncomfortable, just based on the nature of the questions that are going to be asked, because it's going to touch some stuff that is pretty close to home. So
Awesome. Well, it sounds like you have a pretty thorough, research topic that you're very, very interested in. So I thank you for your time.
All right.
If I have any follow-up questions, I will definitely be in touch.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.